this right angle weave bracelet that uses crystals and create a ribbon of RounDuo minis and seed beads down the center. I used some copper in this one here for the clasp, so I'll show you how to add that as well. Check out the materials down below and we'll get started. I'm going to start off here with my olives and my 11-0 seed beads. And I have my thread and needle here. I wasn't sure exactly how to teach this because you could do it a couple different ways. You can see here I have a sample here of my first step. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. If you're really familiar with right angle weave and you're a pro, you can just kind of snake your way back and forth, adding these sections together. If you're not a right angle weave pro, you can do one side and then come back down the other side. So I'm going to show you the second method where you just make one side and then you come back down and add the other side. So I'll show you that method, and I might also show you the more complicated method. I think of it as being a little bit more complicated just because there's a couple more like twists and turns in there to remember. But like I said, if you're a pro at right angle weave, you can probably look at this and you can see kind of exactly how you snake back and forth, adding these pieces, these components or sections together. So here we go. I'm going to start with what I think is the easier way for somebody who is a beginner or isn't as adept at right angle weave. So we're going to start with a seed bead, and this is going to be part of our project. We can also make it the stop bead. So to make it a stop bead, you're just going to take your needle and go back through that bead again so that your thread loops around the bead. And then you're just going to leave a little bit of a tail here of your thread, just a few inches. I'm going to pick up an olive and a seed bead, an olive and a seed bead, olive and a seed bead, and an olive. So I've got here my stop bead, and then I have 4 olives with a seed bead in between, except for the end here, I don't have a seed bead. So I'm starting with the seed bead and ending with an olive. You should have 4 seed beads and 4 olives. Take your needle and thread and go back through the stop bead and the olive and the next seed bead. And then we're going to pull that into a little circle. It's actually going to sit in our project like this. So it's actually going to kind of form like a diamond shape when we put it all together. So you can see here, these really end up sort of looking like diamonds with the seed beads as our points. So we have a top and a bottom and a right and a left seed bead. Since this is my first circle, I'm going to go, or my first diamond, I'm going to go back through it again just to sort of tighten everything up. For me, it's always better to start with it a little bit, to start with it less loose. You really don't want it loose at all. You want it loose enough that the beads can freely move, but we don't want to have any slack thread. So I just want to round through all those beads one more time. And I'm coming out exactly in the same spot as where I started through one of my seed beads here. And I just want to come out someplace really other than that stop bead. And so you can see here, I'm coming out the top bead, what I would call the top seed bead here. Now, like I said, I'm going to start with the method where you just make like one side and then you come back and add the other. So we're going to keep making a series of these little diamonds, and we're just going to go forward until we get to the length of the bracelet that we want. So what I'm going to do here is pick up, I'm actually going to pick up the same pattern that I picked up right after my stop bead. So the bead here, the 11-0 where my thread is coming out, you can pretend that this is like your stop bead, and we're going to pick up that same pattern. So an olive and a seed bead, olive and seed bead, olive and seed bead, and end with an olive. So we're picking up 4 olives and just 3 seed beads. The 4th seed bead we're sharing with our previous section. So I'm going to take my needle and go through the 11-0 where my thread is coming out, and I'm going to pull all those beads that I just added into a second diamond. It looks kind of square right now, but as we work with it, you'll see it's really kind of looks more like a diamond. So I'm going to go through the next olive and seed bead and the next olive, and I want to go through the next seed bead. So now I'm coming out through the seed bead here at the very end of my project, the very end of where I'm working. If we orient it this way, it's a seed bead here at the very top. And I'm going to continue this pattern until I get to the length that I need for my bracelet. So I'm coming out the top here, and again, just picking up 3 of my olives with those seed beads in between. So I've got 3 olives here. I've got olive seed bead, olive seed bead, olive seed bead, and then olive. 3 olives, 4 seed beads. 4 olives, 3 seed beads. I think I said that backwards. And then we're going to go through our 11-0 again here at the beginning where we started, and through the olive, the seed bead, the olive, and the next seed bead. So we're going to follow this pattern again just to the length that we want for the bracelet. And it's okay if it kind of doesn't keep its shape right now. It'll keep its shape once we add more beads and we do the next step. So that is the first step here in getting this to the length that we want, and then we'll start working on adding our sections down the side. Once you make this first length, the first side of the bracelet, the length that you need, we're going to come back and add the second half or second side of the bracelet. I only have 4 sections here, but it doesn't matter how many sections you have. It's going to be the same steps for no matter how long you make this. So coming out of the end, because we're coming out here at the very top of my 11-0 here, we're going to pass through a crystal and a seed bead so that we're now coming out through or on the side. So we're going to be coming out. For me, it's going to be the right here because this is how I like to hold it. But if you prefer the left, you can come out on the left. I'm going to pick up 3 11-0s, and then I'm going to go back through the 11-0 here where my thread is coming out. And you can see this is another little right angle weave section where I have my 11-0 here that I'm sharing with the little diamond with my crystals, and then this tiny little diamond next to it with just seed beads. So I've added 3 seed beads to the existing 11-0. I'm going to pass through the next 2 11-0s. So instead of now working forward, I'm kind of working out to the side here, and I'm coming out through the right seed bead in this tiny little diamond. I'm now going to pick up that pattern of crystals. So I've got my crystal and 11, my crystal and 11, another crystal and 11, and another crystal. So that same pattern I'm going to pick up. I've got 4 crystals and the 3 seed beads, and then back through the 11-0 where I started. So all I'm doing here is adding that same diamond with the crystals onto my tiny little diamond with the 11-0s. So now that this is the very end, show you here on my sample. So what I did here was I just added this section, this diamond here. So now I'm going to work on adding all the diamonds below it. This is the very end of my piece. So I want to start adding diamonds now next to each one of the diamonds, working down the other side of my bracelet. So I'm going to pass through my crystal and 11, the crystal, the 11-0 and the crystal, and the 11-0. So I'm going through basically all of these beads except for the last or the fourth crystal. I'm going clockwise through my diamond and coming out through the 11-0 here at the bottom. Now again, like I had done when I first started, if you find that this is a little loose, you can just go back through the beads again. And you can do this for any of the diamonds that you make. If it feels a little loose and you can see too much thread between your beads, just go back through again. And here I am coming out the same place, coming out through the 11-0 on the bottom of this first diamond. I'm going to pick up my beads to make another diamond. So I'm going to pick up my crystal and 11, and crystal and 11, crystal, 11, and crystal. And back through the 11-0 to add these beads directly below. So now what's missing is this connection here between my large diamonds. So I'm going to pass through my crystal and my seed bead, and coming out here through my seed bead on the left here, I'm going to pick up an 11-0, and then I'm going to share the seed bead of the diamond that I'm working next to. So I'm going to go through that diamond, through that 11-0 to the right, or on the right side of my diamond, and I'm going to pick up another seed bead and go down through the seed bead on the left. So what I've done here is I've just added or created one of those tiny little diamonds of seed beads between my two larger diamonds. I'm going to continue on here and pass through the crystal and the seed bead. So I'm coming out through my seed bead here on the bottom of my crystal, and I'm ready to add another section, another diamond. So I'll do this one more time, and then you're just going to continue the full length of your bracelet. So I'm going to pick up that same pattern of my crystals and seed beads, my 4 crystals and 3 seed beads, and I'm going to go back through the crystal, or I'm sorry, back through the 11-0, and then I need to create the connection here in the center. So I'm going to take my thread and pass through my beads, all the beads on the new diamond, until I get to the seed bead here on the left. And I'm going to add a seed bead and go down through the bead on the right of the diamond next to the one I just added. Oops. And pick up a seed bead and then go through the seed bead on my other diamond here. And now I'm in position to go back through my beads on this diamond to add a new diamond below. So I'm going to pass through my crystal and my seed bead, my crystal and my seed bead, and crystal and seed bead. And now I'm in position to add another diamond. So continue this until you get to, until you've added a second diamond next to each of your diamonds on your first length, or your first row, you could call it. And just make sure you don't forget those little connections with seed beads in between. After you finish the second side of your bracelet, we're going to embellish the center here between both sides. So we're going to start here by adding a new piece of thread to our bracelet. If you have some thread left over and you want to keep working with it, that's fine. I'm going to start here with a new piece. So if you can see here, and running all down the center here, you should have these tiny little diamonds of 11/0 seed beads. I'm going to start by taking this inside 11/0 of my first diamond and using that as my stop bead. So I'm going to pull my thread through the through the seed bead and go through that seed bead again to anchor my thread there. I have a couple of thread ends here, so I'll just hold those out of the way here as I work. I'm going to pick up a seed bead, and then I'm going to pick up a RounDuo mini, and then a seed bead. I'm going to go through the 11/0 here opposite of the 11/0 where my thread is coming out. So the 11/0 here below, it's the top 11/0 in the next little diamond of 11/0s as I work down my bracelet. So I'm just crossing over this empty space and going through the 11/0 on the opposite side. And pull your thread through there, pick up another 11/0, and then go through the other hole of the RounDuo mini, pick up another 11/0, and then through the 11/0 here where we started, that is also our stop bead. So be careful to keep your thread tails out of the way. I got quite a few here. So you should have something that looks like this. You have 3 seed beads here at the end, a RounDuo mini in the center, and then 3 seed beads here at the end, or on the other side. Pass through the next seed bead. So you should be coming out between the seed bead and your RounDuo mini. And we're going to pick up 3 seed beads and skip over the RounDuo mini and go through the next seed bead. So this will add those 3 seed beads along the outside edge of your RounDuo mini. Pass through the next seed bead and the next, so the next 2 seed beads. And you should be coming out through the seed bead and your RounDuo mini. Again, on this side, we're going to pick up 3 seed beads and then go through the go through the seed bead here on the other side. Pass through the 11/0 at the end. This was the 11/0 that's also our stop bead. And then through all the seed beads here on this side of our RounDuo Mini until we get to the 11-0 here on the other side, opposite of our stop bead. So you can see here that this is filling up that center sort of hole here between the two sides of our bracelet. So we're going to continue working down the center here, adding the RounDuo Mini and our seed beads all the way down the center here. So to get in position to add the next RounDuo Mini, we're going to go through the right seed bead and the bottom seed bead of this little triangle, or sorry, this little diamond here of our 11-0s. And so now we're coming out this 11-0 here that's sitting sort of at the bottom of this diamond. And we're going to continue here following the same steps that we did up here. And we're going to do that all the way down the center of our bracelet until we get to the other side. Once you have your center filled in with your RounDuo minis and seed beads, we're now ready to add the clasp on. So to add the clasp, I chose to use a 3-strand clasp. So I've got 3 loops or circles here, 3 little 3 places here to add or to connect to my project. You can do a 1-strand, a 2-strand, a 3-strand, but I like the 3-strand because it's got because it's about the same width as my bracelet, and I can connect to 3 spots instead of 1. So once you have your center section done, you can either pick up a new piece of thread, or you can just weave your needle and thread through the beads here until you get out, until you come out here at the end. I'm coming out here through my 11-0 seed bead here at the very end of the project, and it doesn't matter if you start on the top or the bottom here. You just want to make sure that you're lining up your clasp so that it's sitting correctly on your project. So I've got my thread coming out through this 11-0 here, closest to me on the bottom, and I'm just going to line it up with the loop here on my clasp where I want to attach it. I'm going to pick up a seed bead, and then I'm going to go through the loop on my clasp where I want to attach, and I'm going to go back through the seed bead and the seed bead on my bracelet. And I'm going to do this a couple times where I go through the seed bead that I picked up and then through the loop on the clasp, back through the seed bead and the seed bead on my project. This is a way that you can add a clasp without using a wire guard. Sometimes when we add a wire guard, it actually sort of twists and it doesn't sit the right way. So I like to use this method because it keeps the clasp closer to the bracelet and you don't have a wire guard sitting sort of awkwardly to the side. And if you have ever run into that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can of course still use wire guard if you want to, but because I'm not using a wire guard, I'm just going through my seed beads and my clasp multiple times to reinforce the connection and make it stronger. The purpose of the wire guard is to just protect that wire from, well, in this case, our thread. We're not using wire, of course, but just to protect your stringing material, whatever you're using, from wear and tear, especially in places where it's rubbing against metal or crystal or anything like that. So instead of using the wire guard, I'm just going through multiple times to reinforce it to make it stronger that way instead of needing the wire guard. So now coming out of the seed bead here where I started, I'm going to connect to the center, and I'm going to pick up a few seed beads, I just want to pick up enough so that I reach to that center loop on my clasp. And I'm going to do the same thing here where I go through the loop on my clasp and go through the seed beads. So I'm going to go through my 3 seed beads. And through the seed bead on my diamond here, and then through my seed beads again, my 3 seed beads that I just picked up, and through the clasp. You can go through and reinforce this quite a few times, but because we are going through that 111 multiple times, just be aware of that. You don't want to go through that 11 so many times that you end up feeling like it's getting really tight, because then if you try to force your needle through, you could break it. So don't go through too many times. Maybe 2 or 3 times is plenty. So now I'm gonna go through my clasp one more time through that loop. And now starting at the loop of the clasp, I'm gonna pick up 3 of my seed beads, and I'm gonna go to the 11 here on the diamond here at the top, opposite where I started. So go through that 11 and then back through my seed beads, through the clasp, and back through the seed beads. And the 11. I'll do this one more time here just so I can reinforce and make my thread stronger going around my clasp. And now I'm going to start my last connection to my clasp, coming out of the 11 on my bracelet, just like I started down here. Pick up a seed bead, and we're going to go through the loop on our clasp and through the seed bead and the seed bead on our bracelet. And again, just like we did before, reinforce this going back and forth through the clasp and the seed bead. And so here I have a connection, actually 4 connections here using my 3 loops. If I turn that around, you can see what that looks like on the back. So you can do it this way. You can also connect using this center seed bead here, and you can just kind of connect like that, just go from that seed bead to the loop. But I like sort of keeping this a diamond shape here and connecting it that way. So I'm going to cut my thread off. I'll tie and cut that off, and then I will do the same thing on this side and make my connection here. The only thing you have to be careful of as you do the second side is that you're aligning it correctly, and you want to make sure that that the top of your clasp is facing up and you don't have it turned around the wrong way. Because if you attach it and you have it facing the wrong way, you're gonna be upset if you have to take that out and redo it. So you can either keep the other side of your clasp in there, so you can keep your clasp all together and work with it like this if you'd like, so that you know that you're getting it on the correct way. So I'm going to go ahead and do that second side of the clasp, and I'll show you what it looks like when I'm all done. Here's my completed bracelet. You can see that I have my decorative clasp end here and the other side. And when I bring it together, we go, just like that. Very lacy with the crystals here and the decoration down the center. I do have a couple pieces of thread I need to burn off. So it'll look a little bit nicer once I get those done. But really not many steps to this, but still looks very impressive when you're done. And I love the use of copper in this. Copper, I think, doesn't get as much attention as it should. So I like being able to also bring attention to how beautiful this copper is with those vintage copper RounDuo minis. So if you haven't tried copper before, here's your PSA. Try some copper on your next beading piece.